Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. You know that Ann and I have been creating cards lately, especially to send to my mom and my aunt. And so we actually have this new but old wonderful thing that I want to share with you today and show you what we're going to be doing with it. We have just recently bought two very fun things to use for cards, and so I'm going to show you this one today, and so let's get started. Okay, so this big old thing is called a Big Shot, and actually a dear friend of mine was kind of clearing out a lot of her crafting and card making things, and she gave me this, and it's actually an embossing and cutting machine, but it was missing the plates that go through it. Now I looked up this machine, and this is close to $200 to buy this, and so I thought, oh, you know, I don't want to spend too much money. And so what I did is I found out what is needed to make this work. And that's what I want to show you today. So I found at Hobby Lobby, I actually went through and found what I need to make this work. And I was looking at this picture here to guide me. So I got the platform that goes in there, but that's not enough. See how it just slides right through? So I need to increase that thickness. So according to this picture, I need the platform, and then I need 2 cutting pads. And I've been experimenting with these, and I just really am loving it. Now, if you stay to the end of the video, I will show you how I also organize and store all of this. Because as you know, things can get pretty out of hand when you've got a lot of different little things to use for crafting. And so first comes this bottom cutting pad, and then next in line is going to be your paper and what you're either cutting or embossing. And so first off, I'm going to show you some embossing, and I have some of these things I've had for years. I've had this embossing folder. I have a couple of different ones here, and I don't even remember where I got these. I have had them for so many years, but let me show them to you. So this one has little lines with hearts, some circles, and then this one that's kind of a tufted look for the card. And so I will look on, I will look to see if I can find something similar to these, and everything that's here I will link in the description below so that you can easily find them if you would like. And this black and pink Big Shot is no longer available, but there are others that are available that come with everything you need. So I will also link that below. I will also link that below. So let's first look at using these embossing folders with the Big Shot. Now today I am really interested in using up scraps of paper, and I just have a drawer that is scrap paper that any of us can use because, as I've mentioned before, there are a lot of people crafting in our family. And so I just want to show you that a lot of these projects are some that can be used with scrap paper. So the first thing I want to do is just show you some of this embossing. It always uses the platform, but when I am doing embossing, this is a little thick for 2 cutting mats. So what I'm going to do is put down the Emboss and Transfer pad. Then I will put down my my regular cutting pad, and then I just dial that through like that. Okay, and then when it comes out on the other side, I have beautifully embossed paper. Now, I hope you can see that on the camera, but it just put that whole pattern just beautifully in there. Now, that pad is just wonderful. So let me show you the pieces that I bought in order to make this work with both cutting and embossing. So I have, of course, the platform that you will use for both processes of cutting and embossing. And then your cutting pads, they come in a set of 2. And so if you're doing embossing, you will use one of them. If you are doing cutting, you will use 2 of them. And then I also bought the, it's called the Emboss and Transfer Set. And it actually comes with a more opaque cutting mat. And actually, I could just put them both right there. So remember to stay till the end, and I'll show you how I organize all this for very quick setup and cleanup. So there you go with that beautifully embossed paper. Now I want to show you, I have a stamp set that I got and I really love this. This is a baking set. It's from Lawn Fawn. And so I've got the clear stamps, the matching dies. And so I want to show you now the other thing that we bought that I'm just so excited about, that I've seen for and watched for a long time, and that I have wanted to try out. And so let me get that and show you that. Anne and I bought the Misti stamping tool. And because Anne has Down syndrome, sometimes little detail work is a little bit hard for her. And stamping, particularly getting it pretty and accurate, has been a problem. So we got the Misti stamping tool, and here it is, and I love it. And we've been playing around and experimenting with it. And so it comes with a little magnet, and I followed some advice from other people who use the Misti. Put some tape around it because it's a pretty strong magnet. That way it makes it really easy to pick up and move around on your paper. So I've got some white scrap paper that I want to use. I'm just going to trim that down just a little so it'll fit completely in there. And I just want to do some stamping, and then we're going to do a little bit of coloring. So I get my paper down there, and then I'm going to get out my stamps. And so they come like this. I really remember from kind of back in the day, everything was on a block, and this is so much nicer. I want to do a cake stand, so I'm just going to put that down. I want to do a cupcake, and I've got a couple of hearts that I'm going to put in there. And I think that's all I'm going to do. So now I've put those here on my paper. And then what I'm going to do is close the Misti, and it'll pick those up. And then I have them right here. I'm going to put that back in place. And then I'm just going to get my black ink pad that I have had literally for probably 2 decades. And then I'm going to get my black ink on there. And if it gets over here, that's okay. And then when I close up the Misti, it stamps that just really nicely. Now you see, I didn't get it all the way stamped here. And this is the beauty of the Misti. If I position that back in that same corner and come back in and ink that up a little better, just really want to get that down. And I have a cloth here that I can also just wipe this off. And one thing I've learned is that, you know, in our world with hand sanitizer cleans that up really well. So then I get that well inked up. Oops, I forgot. You put that down. I make sure that's back in the corner where it was. And then when I close up push that down. Look at that. it restamps it exactly where it was. So this is particularly helpful with Anne, who is a little shaky, and often when she stamps, it isn't a clear stamp. But with this, we can get it right every time. I love that. So then I can now use that. Now I want to, while I'm thinking about it, while I have these here, I'm going to go ahead and clean those up. There we go. And then I can put them right back in my collection so that I don't lose them. I try to do that each time, just make sure I get them back where they need to go and back with my collection. Okay, so I love this. I love this so much. And I want this to be colorful and nice. I'm going to go ahead and just quickly with my lighter green, I'm going to color this in. And then I'm going to come back with a darker green and do some of those little accents. Now, if you have alcohol markers or something like that, you can use a blending pen. I want to show you one other thing we got, because I see I've got some texture from this mat popping up. So we also, I got this a while ago and I'm really loving it. It's a glass surface. So when I color, I can really get a solid coverage without any of that texture in there. And that glass just is so nice and so flat. One other thing I really like about it, it's so easy to clean up if you get any ink, paint, anything else on it. It's actually pretty great. And then I'm just going to go a little bit darker just on that side. And here's a fun thing. You can even come back in with a pen. And I kind of like those brush ends right over the top. Add a little bit of detail, you know, maybe some little this and that, just to add extra shading. And these pens, these are just Hobby Lobby Master's Touch, very inexpensive, but they're just really fun to use. Being an artist and having taught art quite a bit, I mean, some pens are so expensive, but I just kind of wanted to keep this simple. So I'm doing a little bit of shading with that. And then I'm going to come back in even with this little bit of yellow and just kind of fade that line. There you go. So you can get just some really pretty techniques going on here. And now I want to create a really fun cupcake. I'm going to outline first some deeper details in here. And you notice I'm not being terribly careful. One thing I've learned doing art for so many years is, you know, you don't have to go crazy with being careful when you're shading. And then I'm going to come back through. Oh, see, I am not liking how that color is coming out. That's a little bit too yellowy, orange for what I was hoping. So let's come back in with some pink. That is some pretty bright pink. If I look at that again, I say I really prefer how it looked when I was using the colored pencils, but now look at this. If I come in with colored pencils now, it does not blend in the same way. So that's a good lesson. Use colored pencils first and then come back in with your markers. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. Because I'm just kind of trying to show you what's what. We're just going to go with it. Let's turn this into a yellow cupcake holder. All right. And then I just want to go around my heart with some red, just to make that fun. Okay. So now what are we going to do with this? So in the old days, we would have to cut all of these little things out individually, but you don't have to do that anymore. So now I'm going to bring back in my platform and my cutting plate, and then I'm going to go ahead and lay this in there. And I also have some of this pink tape that it's a paper tape, and it helps hold things in place but won't stick to your paper, and because sometimes those kinds of things, it'll pull the paper up. So I'm going to lay that right over that cake stand, and then I'm going to tape that down so that it doesn't move. And actually, I think what I'll do is take it off the magnetic plate, right, just to do this part. And then I'm going to take my little cupcake, okay, and let's just tape that one down. Hold that up a little bit. And then let's get my little heart cut out. Hold that one down. Okay, so now that I have those all taped down, then I'm going to bring this over and set it on my magnetic plate. Bring my other cutting plate. So I've made a sandwich in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and run this through my Big Shot. Okay. Now when I take that off, you will see, let's just pull those off. I'm going to save my tape for other things that I'll be doing today. And there are all of my, so there are my cutting dies, and then look at those. Look how nicely it cut those out. So easily, so quickly, and makes it so much fun. So let's put those down here. Now these dies, let me just show you what I did with this. I just got some magnetic tape and just stuck it to the card so that these dies can rest on there and won't get lost, because some of them are so tiny that it makes it easy to lose. That's a good way to keep them. And then what I'm going to do then is put them in the same package as the stamps. So they're going there. Stamps are going back in here. There we go. And then there they are together. And I'm never looking for the dies or the stamps. They're just together. Okay, and then I put them in my little storage container that I'll show you later. Okay, so I just love how that cuts out. I'm very excited about the Big Shot, and that I was able, with all of these plates that I got, that ended up costing me, with all of them, the most expensive was the platform. So I was able to get this Big Shot back working for about $40, which is way better than the $200 that it would have cost me to get it new. Okay, so let's go on with our card, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that. So we're going to take our little embossed piece, and we're going to take a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, and I want this card to open the long way. So what I'm going to do is cut this way, and since it's 8.5, I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4. There we go. And then I'm going to fold that in half. And one of my favorite things to have on hand is this bone folder. And when I'm doing cards, I love working on this glass sheet. It makes it easy. I can measure if I need to, and there's no texture, so it just makes it so easy. All right, now let's look at our embossed piece. And I like the width here, but it looks like I'm going to need to cut that down just a little to get it to fit on there really nicely. And thinking about this, because it is embossed and it does not cut quite the same. I'm thinking it probably would have been wise for me to go ahead and get the correct measurement, then emboss, because then I think it would lay flatter. But I think that's going to work just fine. And I like this decorative border around here. So now I'm going to use my tape runner, and I'm going to go ahead and stick that down, and it just gives such a nice, just such a nice texture, that embossing, to this card. Okay, so we're going to put that down. And now I have a little sentiment that I would like to put, and I just want to bring some other color into this. Now, this particular ink stamp is one of the old kind, and honestly, I far prefer the newer types that are clear, and you can use the Misti. And I have heard that you can remove these from the blocks and go ahead and store them in such a way and use them with the Misti, and maybe that will be a future video. So I'm going to go ahead and create just a stamping with this sentiment. Treat yourself to a wonderful day. I think I'm going to switch to the brown, because on that background, that comes out really a little purple. So I have a stamp scrubber that I've actually had for several years. This one I got through Stampin' Up. If I can find something similar, I'll link that below. So let's just do this. I like that better. Now, I wish I could do that on the Misti, because then I could go back through and do it a little darker, but that's okay. I'll have to figure out that the whole thing with the stamp. And I mean, I'm very new to the Misti, so this is really fun to learn new things and discover how they work. So let's clean that up. All right. I feel like I'm getting a little crowded here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut out my sentiment. Okay, let's see how that looks. I think that will be fine. Okay, so now let's start bringing this whole thing together. The first thing I'm going to do is lay things out the way I think I would like them to be. So my sentiment says, treat yourself to a wonderful day. I was also thinking it might be fun with this stamp set to use the rolling pin and say something like, I like how you roll, or, you know, there are just a number of ways we can do that. So I'm looking at that, and I like it. I'm not wild about the heart, so I'm just going to take that off for now. And I think I would like to add a couple of other embellishments. And so let's get this part down. Okay, now to give it a little bit of depth, I'm going to use some sticky strips, and let's see, I'm going to use, I have wider ones and narrower ones. These are pretty small, and so here's how I'm going to use it. I'm going to go ahead and put it down on the cake stand. There we go. And a little bit down here on the bottom of the cake stand, because I want that to sort of stand up off the card. And then I'm also going to put some of that sticky strip on the cupcake. And I like the sticky strips because you can make them be really any size you would like them to be. So then I'll come back through and remove the backing. Sometimes your little Cricut tool can be a huge help in doing that, and just getting that backing up, and it's clear and has a lot of static. Put it down. Now, if I stick that right onto there, it's going to fall in like this. And so now when I do, so I'm going to put the cake stand on, and now when I do the cupcake, I'm going to just put sticky strip on that top part because I want this to be able to sit on my cake stand. And then on the bottom part, I'm going to use my tape runner and just get some tape right there. And then that tape will stick to the stand, and that sticky strip will rise it up. So let's see if we can see that from the side. There, I don't know if you can tell, but the cake, so the cupcake is stuck right to the stand, and the top of the cupcake uses the sticky strip, and that makes it hold together. Okay, let's add some other embellishment now. And so I actually have some of these little rhinestones that I thought would be pretty fun. I'm going to use my little plier thingies, and I just want to put some little jewels right up in here, add a little bit of just fun, just some pretty, to make it go, oh, we've got a little bit of pizzazz. There we go. And so there's a very simple card where we have used our Big Shot for embossing and cutting. We've used our Misti for stamping. And those two tools I can see are just going to sort of change how we make cards, make them so much easier for Anne, and just make the whole flow so much better. So now let me show you how I organize all of those things so that I don't have them just spread out here everywhere. I found this bin at the dollar store, and what I really like about that is that it's just the right size to fit that magnetic bottom. If I do it this way, it's a little too snug, but I can do that. Now, because I am still learning, and because several of us use these products, and I want the girls, everybody, to be able to understand how to use it, I'm going to keep these explanation sheets and put them around each of those things. So I've got my 2 cutting pads here. I've got the magnetic platform. This is the embossing and transfer set. And then I'm going to also include all of my embossing folders right there. And I have some special glue that goes there. I'm putting my my sticky strips are going to go right in there too. And then I've got my clear stamps. I've got a few different sets, and I'm just going to slide those in. Now this gives me some room that as I get other sets, or if I'm able to transfer some of these onto a set like this, I have room to go ahead and do all of that. So those things all go there. My other tools, my bone folder and my little tweezers, and all of these other tools are always right here. So I don't need to find a place for those. I'm going to add my paper tape, my stamp cleaner, and my colored pencils I actually use in so many other places that they're not going to go in here. But there I can keep everything just stored so easily. And the Big Shot is big, but if I have this all together and this, that can easily go on a shelf. Now my stamp pads, let me show you that. I actually got some vinyl in the mail, and it came in this box. And I went, wow, that is going to be just right for my stamp pads. And so I went ahead and covered it with some vinyl so it didn't have sharp edges because of paper cuts, and so that I can wipe it down if ink gets on it. So I can actually store everything very simply, super easy cleanup. And to make this really great, I can also just set my Misti back in here, and that is stored with everything else in this bin. And so storage and organization helps when you're doing a lot of crafting. I'm so excited that we got the Misti. I'm excited that we were able to get the Big Shot working for much less than having to buy one. And so there's everything together. And I hope you enjoyed that. I will be doing more, particularly with Anne, with card making using both the Misti and the Big Shot, and we'll be showing you the fun things we're working on. And so for today, that simple little card maybe just gives you some ideas. And if you liked this, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up, and I hope you'll subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so that you will be notified as we have more fun things coming out of my craft room.